Hi, I'm Sydney, and I am a servant of the Almighty God. I am also the founder of SOTAG, an organization of people who believe in truth, love, and the brotherhood of mankind. I have been doing these series of sessions, right? And I always plug my upcoming book, which has all the inspirations that I got, the latest book. So I'm going to plug the book again. Here it is. Oh, it does that every so often, right? Here's the book. It's Humanity's Inflection Point. And I thought, just a second, you keep plugging this book, but what is the book about? Well, Humanity's Inflection Point is the latest in this inspiration that started when I was like, I guess 13, somewhere around there. I had this really interesting experience where, I went out fishing. I had a couple, as a teenager, I had a couple of cigarettes, taking a puff, and my breath locked, and I felt like this terminal breath where I couldn't get the next breath, and I collapsed. And I found myself in this place of light where I could hear people in the background talking, and they were basically saying, why, and there were multiple people then saying, well, why don't we just welcome him? He's already here. And then I heard this dominant voice say, no, because no one knows where he is, and his work is not done. I was a teenager. I was 12, 13, something like that. And then I woke up, and I was in the in the dirt, and I had to dust myself off and stuff, and I was all groggy, and I got home. I staggered back for a while, and I got myself bearings and headed back home. But the thing that stuck with me was I could feel, the place was light, it was bright. I didn't see anyone, I just heard the voices. But I felt this warmth on my skin. And it came to me that was not, it wasn't the wind blowing. It was love. It just felt wonderful. You could feel the love on you. I mean, it was amazing. And to be honest, I didn't want to be here. I wanted to be back there. But then I was like, but he said, I couldn't go back because he says, it's like almost like, you can't come here yet because no one knows where he is and his work is not done. So that went away, and many, many, many years later, a teenager did all kinds of crazy stuff. That's what we do, right? And I went off and lived life. Many years later, I felt this need to go back to church. Something was pulling me, I guess. And that's why I wonder whether it's, is this called, chosen kind of stuff. I don't know. But it's like, no, this thing happened to me when I was like real little. Now I'm a man, and this thing is pulling me back. I didn't know that. But I went to church, and I couldn't feel. I felt something, but something was missing. So I started fasting for weeks. I had to fast for like 7 days, 10 days, 4 days, and pray, fast and pray. And that's when I asked him to, give me the strength to serve his will above everything else. And that's when these things came to me verbally. I mean, I would be lying in bed and it would be like, Sydney, write this, And that's where that was many years ago. This is quite a few years ago. This is like early 2000s, right? And it was, our science reveals God's methods. So your science reveals God's methods. So I said, our science reveals God's method. Okay. And then, the key to meeting God's expectation of us is self-control. Not controlling anyone else, self-control. And I realized, yeah, I drink alcohol, but no one can ever say they saw Sydney drunk. Never. Right? Well, when I was in high school, it's a different thing. There was one time in my life. But during this with self-control, and I realized even when the Son of Man walked on the earth, you could hang out anywhere. But with self-control, right, it puts you there. You do not go off the edge, basically. And then the third message that came, one night, woke me up. Diversity is his. As servants, we must honor his diversity. And so, again, I explain it all in the book. The latest stuff now that inspired this book, the HIP, Humanity's Inflection Point, this one is kind of like mind-blowing. Because what happens with this is I got the explanation of God designing evolution. And the three big things that religion should be bringing to us all the time, right? One is the rule of law. And so you hear it a lot. But those are the laws, the commandments that apply to all of us, and no one is above it, the rule of law. So religion should be emphasizing that, and emphasizing that we all exist in the presence of the living, omnipresent, omnipotent God. The other thing, this is its recognition that all our science and technology are revelations from God for our benefit. And that is big, because it's kind of obvious as well. Because we, like I talk about the periodic table and all these elements, right? The ability to predict what we previously thought was random. There's a lot more in the book, but this is a synopsis I'm trying to get into here pretty quickly so that you understand. But that's a big part, because we realize that all these things around us were already there. DNA was there before the dinosaurs. It has all been there. And so what we are receiving now, what he is revealing to us, our science revealed God's method, which I got years ago, these are all revelations that manifest his omnipotence. It's showing us how powerful our Creator is, that he created this billions of years ago. And this is why one of the key things is as our knowledge grows, we are recognizing basically the laws of creation, the laws of nature. But even when we get to the animals and we look at DNA and we look at, as Charles Darwin discovered, right, and on the evolution, on the origin of species, evolution, and that caused a big split. So I feel kind of lucky, because I am dedicated. I'm kind of religious skeptic, but until I recognize that the critical role that religion plays, because religion is the foundation of our moral compass. This is where the rules that we should live by comes from. They're not serving it very well right now, and that's where the humanity inflection point, because religions have been taking us down, being divisive, wars, hate, all of this stuff. And so it really is meant to be the moral compass for all of us. No scripture was given to a group to create religion. The scriptures were given for all mankind, but man has taken it, but that doesn't mean we throw it away. It's education. So when all religions recognize that they are the first implementation of the rule of law, it becomes kind of unifying, especially when now they need to start exalting our Creator, because we are recognizing his omnipotence. All our science and technology are based on revelations of things that existed billions of years ago. Evolution itself is an autonomous process designed so that we, the genes themselves, can adapt based on external conditions, again, autonomously. And so that you have the generation and formation of mutations which predominate based on the external conditions. That is where we want to go. We can't do it with flesh and blood as yet. Again, think about it. Our knowledge is so small, couple hundred years, a couple thousand years, right? The modern science and technology that's based, that we exist and do so much of our magic on, right? His billions of years. So that's why we haven't, and when we know close to finding that spark, that is life. And so that spark, the same thing that causes bees to be able to communicate where they found food, and salmon to find back where they were born, and the butterflies to navigate. All of these things, it's deep within. That's the omnipotence. That's the majesty of our Creator being manifested in front of us. And more, so as our knowledge expands, we have to recognize what we thought was random, they are rules. Just like I talk about the weather, right? With the weather, it would seem pretty random until you find the rules and we can predict. Well, much of this, we can recognize there is a deep intelligence, because these things, a bee being born, right? You have this pupae, this larva. It's already embedded deep within this. I can speak the language. I can read that language when this mature bee tells me where he found food. I can tell by the signs for the fish and the birds and the bees. They can tell by the signs that we still can't read, but we know that because it's predictable, they will do this. We know there are laws that govern it, the laws of creation. And so the book goes a lot into that stuff. And I don't want to go on forever. I mean, again, this is a synopsis. There's sections on growing spiritually that I talk about, the rule of law and those who will not, the role of demons and angels. I mean, I know we don't talk about that stuff a lot now because it's kind of like, well, no, but I believe, and this is by inspiration, I would wake up with all these things. I mean, just like when I was getting those verbal that I wrote, I would wake up with my head filled with these things, and I just sat writing. And then I formulated the chapters and I put it into the book. Because as religion that's taking us down, knowledge, which comes from the same source as the scriptures, is taking us up and uniting us. No one debates, phone technology, TVs, the technologies, the underlying materials and knowledge, because we didn't create the periodic table. We did not create any of these things. DNA, we did not create. It's all being revealed to us. It's been there forever. And as our knowledge grows, it's just an expansion of the revelations, just like the Prophet Muhammad and Buddha and all his messengers. They saw truth and they brought it to us. Now we have lots of people out there seeking truth. And this is what I love about science, and it's why I was science-based. I mean, I'm a software engineer. We, on all kinds of systems, right? For everything from, big data, all this stuff, that's what I do. I love science. I had a teacher who says, physics is life. And I love that. I believe that because the light we see, the frequencies, the sounds, everything, it's science. Well, you had to be from science-based to start recognizing, wow, that gap, that science just said was random. Now we're recognizing, no, it's not random. There are rules that govern it. And once there are rules, it's no longer random. So as we, with AI, and move towards machine learning, machine learning, where the machine can, based on experiences, add to that database that it queries to figure out, okay, how should I react to this new circumstance that I'm encountering, this new sequence of events, then I have to look at my database. Well, that's what God, He put that knowledge down at the genomic level so that based on external conditions, the genes can start making those changes which cause the formation of mutations. And this is what Charles Darwin recognized. Again, he was inspired to find this so that we move forward. And that's one of the sad things. Religions that reject God's knowledge because they want to live 2,000 years ago or 1,000 years or 100 years ago. They have rejected the omnipotence of the Creator. Again, I go into all this in the book. This is just a synopsis, and it's taking quite a while. So get a copy of the Humanity's Inflection Point, because it goes into what the future can be when religion recognizes God's omnipotence and start teaching it, all the good things that can flow, the inflection point from being divisive to recognizing the Almighty, and where it can take us, one of the greatest forces on this earth, the unification of exalting the same Creator, the one who created nature, put all these laws that are undeniable. So it doesn't matter which faith which faith you subscribe to, when you recognize the one Creator. You know, like the sun, the earth rotates, and we cannot deny day and night. We cannot deny the laws of nature. We cannot deny the one Creator. That's where the inflection point comes. And I know it's taken 2,000, 3,000 years for us to be where we are, the mess that we're in. But He has provided all the tools, the internet, this medium, so that the inflection point may come in, we don't know, 2,000 years, 1,000 years, 500 years, whenever. But this is the knowledge, this is the genesis of that information, and others will feel this, and they will. This, again, would be a seminal work that tends to get us in that direction of the one omnipotent God that all religions must exalt. And that is really the inflection, when the inflection point will come. So once again, you've got the synopsis. There's a lot more in there. Thank you very much for taking the time. And until, may God bless. Thank you.